One day, God, or the Lord as most commonly referred to in the Old Testament, called Abram to leave his country, his people, and his father's household to journey to the land of Canaan, promising to make him the father of a great nation. At the age of 75, Abram obeyed this divine call, taking with him his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot, embarking on a journey that would shape the destiny of generations to come. The path to Canaan was long and arduous, filled with uncertainties and challenges, yet Abram traveled in faith, guided by the promises of God. Upon arriving in Canaan, he was informed that the land was chosen for him and his descendants and would be granted to his lineage, yet he found the region already inhabited by a variety of Canaanite tribes. These tribes, including the Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, Jebusites, Perizzites, and Girgashites, each had their own distinct cultures, languages, and religious practices, living primarily as agriculturalists while also engaging in trade and commerce. The relationship between Abram and the Canaanites was complex, as some welcomed him and showed hospitality, while others viewed him as an interloper and reacted with hostility. Despite these difficulties, Abram established himself in Canaan and lived there in obedience to God's commands. At the age of 99, God made a covenant with Abram, changing his name to Abraham and promising that he would be the father of many nations. Abraham passed away at the age of 175 and was buried in the cave of Machpelah near Hebron, in what is now the West Bank. Abraham had two sons, Isaac, born to his wife Sarah, and Ishmael, born to Hagar, Sarah's maidservant. Isaac is regarded as the ancestor of the Jews, while Ishmael is considered the ancestor of the Arabs. Although they shared the same father, the sons had different mothers and thus distinct destinies. Isaac, even though his wife Rebekah was barren, was granted a son named Jacob, who was later named Israel by God. Jacob had 12 sons, who became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. These 12 tribes formed the foundation of the Israelite nation, and their descendants would later enter Egypt under the leadership of Joseph, one of Jacob's sons, who had risen to prominence in the Egyptian administration. Initially, the Israelites lived in peace and security in Egypt, but as the generations passed and a new pharaoh ascended to the throne, their growing numbers caused concern among the Egyptians, who enslaved them and subjected them to harsh labor. This oppression continued until God raised up Moses to deliver the Israelites from bondage. God instructed Moses to go to Pharaoh and demand the release of the Israelites, and after a series of plagues, Pharaoh finally relented. The Israelites left Egypt in a mass exodus, journeying from Ramesses to Succoth, numbering around 600,000 men on foot, not including women and children. Their time in Egypt had lasted 430 years. During the journey, God revealed the 10 Commandments to Moses, establishing the foundation of Jewish belief in the oneness of God, monotheism, and moral law. The Ark of the Covenant, which contained these commandments and other divine revelations, became the most treasured possession and symbol of the Jewish people. After Moses' death, Joshua led the Israelites into Canaan, carrying the ark as they fought against idol-worshipping tribes. Their rallying cry, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one," united them during their struggles to conquer the land. The conquest of Canaan was protracted, as tribal divisions, lack of a central government, and continuous resistance from the native inhabitants prolonged the wars. Judges rose to lead the people in times of conflict, but eventually, the Israelites demanded a monarchy to unify and strengthen the nation. Samuel, the prophet, appointed Saul as the first king of Israel, inaugurating a period of centralized rule, yet Saul's dynasty did not last long. It was David, a Judahite not descended from Saul, who established Israel's first enduring dynasty. King David expanded Israelite territories, defeated neighboring tribes including the Philistines, and made Jerusalem the capital. Among his most famous feats was defeating the Philistine giant Goliath. David not only achieved military victories but also diplomacy, consolidating Israelite power from the Sinai Peninsula in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. One of David's ambitions was to build a grand temple for the Ark of the Covenant, but this task was fulfilled by his son Solomon, who constructed a magnificent temple in Jerusalem, making it the spiritual and political center of Israel. The reigns of David and Solomon marked a period of prosperity, peace, and security that the Israelites would rarely experience again. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam ascended to the throne, but his refusal to reduce taxes caused a rebellion led by Jeroboam, resulting in the division of the kingdom around 931 BC. The 10 northern tribes formed the kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam, while Judah and Benjamin, along with the Levites, remained loyal to Rehoboam in the southern kingdom of Judah. This division brought political instability and internal conflicts, with both kingdoms experiencing periods of prosperity and hardship. In 722 BC, the Assyrians conquered Samaria, the northern capital, and the 10 tribes were exiled, eventually disappearing from history as the 10 lost tribes of Israel. The southern kingdom, governed by the Davidic line, survived longer but was ultimately conquered by Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon in 587 BC. Jerusalem and Solomon's temple were destroyed, and many Jews were exiled to Babylon. This captivity lasted 50 years until Cyrus the Great of Persia conquered Babylon and allowed the exiles to return and rebuild the temple, marking the beginning of the Second Temple period. Ezra and Nehemiah led the reconstruction, restoring Jerusalem and its religious institutions. During the Second Temple period, Jews lived under foreign rule, with only brief periods of independence, notably following the Maccabean Revolt in 167 BC against the Seleucid Empire, spurred by the desecration of the temple by Antiochus IV. The revolt, led by Mattathias and his sons, liberated Jerusalem and restored Jewish religious practices, culminating in the festival of Hanukkah in 164 BC. In 63 BC, Roman commander Pompey captured Jerusalem, ending the Hasmonean state and establishing Roman control. Tensions with Rome continued, especially following the crucifixion of Jesus in the early 1st century AD, which intensified divisions within the Jewish community. In 66 AD, the Jews revolted, initiating the First Jewish-Roman War, which ended in 70 AD with the destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple by Emperor Titus, who celebrated his victory with the construction of the Arch of Titus in Rome, depicting the spoils of the temple. Despite some Jews remaining in the region, many were killed, enslaved, or exiled. In 132 AD, the Bar Kokhba revolt erupted, leading to massive casualties, widespread destruction, and further dispersion of Jews from Judea. The Roman Emperor Hadrian renamed the province Syria Palestina to erase Jewish identity from the land. Over centuries, Jewish communities migrated across Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia, establishing Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, and Bukharan communities. Under the Ottoman Empire, Jews experienced relative prosperity, particularly after the Sephardic Jews were welcomed following their expulsion from Spain and Portugal in 1492. Prominent Jews, such as David Ben-Gurion and Yitzhak Ben-Zvi, studied in Ottoman lands before the modern Zionist movement emerged. In 1860, Theodor Herzl advocated for a Jewish homeland, leading to the First Zionist Congress in 1897, aiming to secure a safe nation for Jews in Palestine. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 endorsed this cause, although British policymakers often held anti-Semitic views, viewing Zionism as a means to relocate Jews from Europe. After World War I, Palestine came under British administration, and Jewish immigration increased, leading to conflicts with Arab populations. The Arab Revolt of 1936–1939 was suppressed with significant casualties. Jewish paramilitary groups, such as the Irgun, carried out attacks against British and Arab targets. The Holocaust during World War II, in which 6 million Jews were murdered by Nazi Germany, intensified international support for a Jewish homeland. In 1947, the United Nations approved the partition of Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. Despite Arab rejection, the State of Israel declared independence in 1948, sparking the Arab-Israeli War. Thus, the history of the Jewish people, from Abraham's covenant with God to the modern State of Israel, is marked by faith, exile, perseverance, conquest, oppression, and revival, spanning thousands of years of struggle, resilience, and hope, with each generation witnessing divine guidance, human endeavor, and historical transformation that shaped their enduring identity and connection to the land of Canaan, later Israel, and ultimately to the modern geopolitical realities of the Middle East, reflecting a continuum of spiritual and cultural legacy that has survived through diaspora, persecution, and renewal, ultimately culminating in the re-establishment of a sovereign homeland after centuries of displacement and adversity, demonstrating the persistent fulfillment of promises, faith in God's covenant, and the unbroken lineage of a people bound by tradition, law, and identity across millennia.